Who's familiar with Nest.js? Raise your hand. Good, not too much people, so hopefully it's going to be nice. Let's get it started. You know what? I'm going to introduce myself very quickly, and then we might drop the slides and do some live coding. Unless you want to see a bunch of slides. I've got at least 40 or 45 slides. Who wants to see slides? No one. Who want to see me fails in live coding session? Yeah. So this is me. This is what I'm doing, working for 500 Tech. As Elad says in my introduction, active in the React community, but in the Angular community as well. In New York. What else? Let's drop the slides and get started. Go. No. You're not supposed to see this. So I want to talk about becoming a full stack developer with a framework called Nest. And because I'm not going to use any slides at all, we're just going to use the web browser for this. So Nest.js, kind of a new framework. And the guy who built it, Camille, took a lot of inspiration, even a lot of inspiration, from the Angular framework and just build a nice layer on top of Express.js. Who wrote some Node.js code before? Just raise your hand so I know. Cool. Who used Express? Nice. What's the problem with Express.js? Let's talk about the problem, because it is, I think, the de facto framework library to build Node.js apps. But the problem with Express, that's my opinion, is that we don't have any well-defined structure. So if you look at 10 different Express.js apps, you can see different folder structures. Different people use this tool in different ways. So Camille took this problem and said, all right, Angular gave us nice structure to work with when we build complicated front-end apps, especially the whole concept of separation of concerns, using TypeScript, annotations, the concept of modules, dependency injection services. Let's take this and try to build something with the same ideas and pattern on top of Express.js. And it's important to say on top of Express, because Express is very solid. So it's not like it's trying to reinvent the wheel, just trying to give it a better user experience. Who heard about those guys? Where's my Wi-Fi? Raise your hand. Nerval. Now, most of you haven't heard about them. You know what? I'm just going to use their tool, and hopefully you see the benefits. So, can you see the code? It's big enough? That's better? You have to communicate with me, otherwise that's not going to work. Yeah, all right. When I ask a question, it's because I want to know the answer. I'm here for you. I'm here to serve you today. The guys from Nerval. Where's my browser? The guys from Nerval build an CLI tool, an extension on top of Angular CLI, which allows us to build a workspace. In other words, it allows us to do something like this. Full stack apps and Next.js. No slides. So with one line of code, which you can run with npx, we can generate not an Angular project, a monorepo that's going to help us reuse a lot of our code that can host both Angular apps, building JavaScript libraries, building modules for Angular, building React apps that can share code with Angular apps, and build Node.js apps for our backend, all within the same project, and we got everything pre-configured for us. So I ran this command before I got on the stage to save all of us a lot of time. And this is what I got back. I even prepared for you a screenshot, very important screenshot, that I'm probably not going to find now. So we're going to see it later, which explains the whole thing. So what you're seeing right now, it's a workspace that was generated with the neural NX tools. Under the apps library, I've got for free, generated for me, 2 directories, one for each app. If you're working in a company that works on several different Angular apps, that's probably a solution that you need to check out. I've got only 1 node modules right here on the root that's going to serve all of my Angular app and my backend apps and my React apps and the libraries and whatever. And under apps, I've got an Angular app. I called it blog, with all the structure that we are pretty much familiar with. And on the other side, I've got a project called API that gonna host my NestJS code. And because all of us already know how to work with Angular, let's take a crash course of how to build NodeJS apps. So, the building block of a NodeJS, NestJS app is the app module. Looks familiar? Yeah, you're tired because you're after lunch. Modules, familiar modules, the same modules that you know from AngularJS, the same concept, actually the exact same API. The only main difference is that instead of a component that in our front-end app used to interact with the user, when we build server-side applications, we are not interacting with the user, we just need to manage HTTP requests. So the first version of Nest, he used actually the term components to build controllers, to build pieces of code to know how to manage HTTP requests, but then he changed it to a controller because it does make more sense, unless if you ask me. The controller is just a class, which we annotate with the controller decorator. Inside of my controller, I can implement methods. Obviously, we don't need any HTML or CSS because we're on the server side. So let's do something like this. Say hello, which return a string. Yeah, very complicated. But that's the nice thing. If I want to make it work, I can decorate it with get. And now if I'm going to check out my server, if I hit the root, I just get a string. Now, who worked before with an entity framework on .NET? Woo! Yeah. Well, why? Who? Who works with entities on Java? Yeah. Who say this? The same person? Your friend. Anyway, so this concept is not new, but it is new to the ecosystem of Node.js, because I think who agree that writing code like this is like pretty much straightforward? No one? Go away. There's other talks, because it's not going to get too complicated. Let's do something interesting. Let's build a feature module in Nest.js, and we try to serve some data to our Angular app, just to try to feel this experience of being a full-stack Angular developer with the same syntax. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cd into my Nest.js. I'm going to use the CLI, Nest Generate module. Let's call this module blog or blog feature. I don't want to mess with I'll just call it blog. Enough. Let's generate a blog module. Let's generate a blog controller. And let's generate a blog service. I need to... Now you said it? Now that's the best time? After I'm done? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now I lost focus on my terminal, not on my mind. Don't worry. So we've got this module. Let's just try to make this terminal live again. Cd apps, cd API, go to source, and that's it. Cd app. All right. So took it too far. Nest, generate. If you see a mistake, please correct me during my talk. Generate a controller. Let's call this controller blog. And let's generate a service. So even the CLI looks familiar, and that's the whole purpose of this talk, to show you, most of you who's not familiar with this tool, that because the API is so friendly and the concept is so friendly, we can take our Angular skills and patterns and thinking and just build a full stack app. So under my blog module, yeah, I just messed with all of this. I just created a library for each one of them. What a mess. App module. This is the modules from before. The controller module, the service module. Let's get rid of them. Fix this. Cool. Control layer. All right. Let's remove the extra modules, which is the controller module and service module. And hopefully everything still there. All right. So we're good. Blog module. We still got a concept of providers because we do have dependency injection, and we've got the blog controller. And let's say that we want to implement a simple feature of creating a blog post. And this is where the Narrow workspace become a very powerful tool. Because if I'm going to create an interface or a type to deal with my post, with my blog post, I might want to reuse it in my Angular app. So I can drop into this library called API interfaces, create an interface called post, and this interface, I can reuse it within my Angular app and my Nest.js app. So every code that you put under libs, any lib project that you generate and put under libs, you can share the code, but it doesn't mean that you're going to build everything together because this tool is smart enough so you can build the server-side app separately from the Angular app. So we can reuse the code, but we can count on the build script to be able to do tree shaking and everything else we need. So I've got this post interface. First, I'm going to use it on my server-side app. So I'm going to go to my blog service. And here, I'm just going to say, all right, get posts. I can use this interface. It's going to be a post array. And let's return nothing for now. Because I've got the same dependency injection as Angular, I can go to my blog controller and I want to point on this one, on this string that I passed to the blog decorator. The Nest.js router, routing definition, reading this metadata, this string that you pass to the controller, in order to build the path. So, right now, if I want to reach this blog controller, which currently don't have anything in it, so I'm just gonna inject the post service. The blog service. Let's take this, copy paste, lowercase. And inside my get, I'm gonna put another thing. So now, in order to hit this get, I'm going to type my root level /blog/posts, and the Nest.js router is going to configure the whole routing just by the strings that you pass to those decorators. So let's see if it's going to work out. We try to hit the server API. We've got blog, because that's on the controller, and we've got posts. Yeah, and we get an empty array. Who's working with WebStorm? Raise your hand. IntelliJ. Ah, that's a friendly audience. Who's still using VS Code? That's the same amount of the same people. Yeah, they haven't decided yet. All right. So welcome to Can You Do It with Visual Studio Code. So there is this concept, actually that's available as a plugin, of course, for Visual Studio Code as well. But this tool called HTTP, which is built in WebStorm, where you can just generate a simple document with the .http extension, and then I can just, I want to check this API, for example, doing this GET request. So I can test my API without any external tools. Just run HTTP, run localhost. This is the empty response, and it's actually cache it as a JSON, so you don't need to abuse your server, which is a very nice way inside your IDE, inside your project, create text files, put a get, post, whatever, without any Postman or any external tools, available as a plugin for your favorite text editor. In WebStorm, it's just built in. You use it, that's your problem. Go ahead and find it. No, I'm kidding. I'm using VS Code. Let's be honest. I'm using VS Code. It's holding all my notes right now. Things that things that I put here in order to not forget. All right. So you got the concept. All right. I can talk about. I can show you some more examples. But I think that the nicest thing about Nest.js that is very familiar. If you work with Angular, you probably already know the syntax. You're probably already familiar with the building blocks. You know how to create modules. You know how to work with dependency injection. You just need to replace, just like Angular, the learning curve here, dropping the CSS and HTML, is just learning a bunch of decorators and all of those annotations that you don't see here. So the module is the same. But here we can do some other stuff. For example, this is a generic GET request, but I can do this. Create a post. Gonna accept the post, and I've already got a post interface. I got a post interface? Yep, I've got a post interface. And I can decorate this with post. And if I want to get the body of the request, I can inject the body and just get the body. And if I want to get params, I can do this. Give me an ID and just inject params right here. Rams, and give me this ID because I want to work with it. So same as Angular, the same concept. We write simple classes, we annotate them, and all of this is riding on top of Express. But let's take another step. One thing that we like about Angular is the concept of modules in terms of if we've got external libraries and the community build modules on top of them, it's become very easy to integrate new stuff into Angular. I think we all agree on this one. I've got an Angular module, a third-party Angular module. Great. Let's just npm install this module, import this module into my module, and that's it. I've got everything I need. I've got providers, I've got components, I've got whatever I need. Same concept with Nest.js. Don't be mistaken. It is an introduction talk about this Nest.js, but whatever you want to do, probably Nest.js support us. I want to take it a step further. I want to try to take my last 10 minutes and wire it up to a database. Because if you're building a server-side app, we probably want to configure a database. If you worked with Node.js before, that's not a big deal to wire something to the database. But again, because we don't have any framework with those strong conventions and all those building blocks, you might need to write some more code in order to configure and work with your database. So who's familiar with the concept of ORM? Just raise your hand. A lot of you. Cool. I'm going to use a library called TypeORM. TypeORM. Just for all the people who's not familiar with this. Which got nothing to do with Nest.js. That's a standalone library, but that you can use, whatever you want. It's built with TypeScript. It takes advantage of TypeScript. That's the reason it's going to work so well with Nest.js, because Nest.js is built on top of TypeScript. But you can use it with JavaScript. I just think, honestly, that there's no need to use this kind of library. We're not going to read the entire documentation, but we want to work with this TypeORM within Nest.js, because Nest.js is built on the same principles as Angular. I'm expecting to get a built-in module that wraps this library and give me the same nice experience. Let's try to do it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start by creating, let's remove this because I don't want to crash everything. I want to connect this block service to a relational database. I'm going to hit my app module. I'm going to import TypeORM module. Just like any other module that need to manage some singletons, I've got the for root and for feature or for children static methods. Right here I can just put my ORM configuration. Just drop an object. I'm going to connect to Postgres. I'm going to register something called post entity, which I'm going to create right now. Oh, yeah. The post entity is just a class, which I'm going to decorate with the entity decorator, because I want to create a table, and that's a very bad name for a table, but it's going to create a table called post entity. And here I'm going to generate some fields. Actually, I can use my interface. I can say it implements my post interface and just implement the entire interface. Going to be much easier. The ID, I want it to be the primary key. Primary generate column. You know what? Primary column, but I want it to be primary generated column from TypeORM. This one going to be just not a comment, a column from TypeORM. And here you can put some validations if you like what's the length. We can restrict the length to 50. And this one going to be a straight column as well. All right? And that's it. Like if you worked with an ORM before, you're not surprised. You just map a class into your into a row in your database. We just got the same experience in Node, which I think it's great. So I've got an entity. I can go back to my excuse me? Thank you very much. Do you work with VS Code? No. Oh. I've got a free license for Webstone for you, but you just missed it. But you already got it, so you won't appreciate this. Cool. You just want to, who is it? Raise your hand. I can't see anyone. Yeah? Come to me after the talk, and I'll give you a free license for. I got 2 more, all right? Be nice to me, and you might get it. Cool. Let's go here. We've got the post entity. Let's import this. All right? The server is still on. Almost. I think I just crashed the server. Let's check it out. Serve the blog. Serve the API. Watch that I'm serving 2 different apps within this workspace with the same command. All right? So everything seems to be okay. I'm probably connected to the database. I just don't have this root anymore, so I just got the blog. Let's take it away, which is just don't return anything because we haven't implemented anything. What next? We've got the entity. I'm going to hit my blog service. I'm going to use dependency injection. And I'm going to inject a repository for my, it was a post entity now, post entity. It's going to be a private. Post repository. The type going to be repository, which is a generic type. So I'm going to pass my post entity. And now if I want to get all posts, I can just do basically this. Return this blog. I called it post repository. All right, post repository. This post repository, find, and we don't have anything to give him. This one going to return a promise that's going to resolve into post array. And basically, that's it. We're just going to work with this ORM. If I want to create a post, it's going to look like this. This repository create. You can take whatever I passed here. What? Where? Consistent. This post repository create posts. This post repository. Yeah, I just messed with everything. No type for you. This post repository save. And I think you get the idea. So what I really want to show you here, that even when it comes to working against a database, and if we want to use this nice experience of an ORM, and there is a library that give us this nice experience of an ORM called type ORM, and it's already wrapped within a Nest.js module, because just like Angular, we've got a bunch of third-party libraries and services that already wrapped inside modules, and the community keep generate those. We can get it as easy as same concept, classes, decorators, TypeScript, modules, dependency injection. And I mean, that's my opinion. I think that's my bill. I'm going to steal another minute. All right. And my opinion, I think the dependency injection on the server side, on Node.js, on Nest.js, sometimes even make more sense to me than on the front end. But I like dependency injection on both ends. All right. So let's summarize. First, a fully working example from the database to Angular within the same workspace going to be shared on my GitHub repo. So I encourage you to take a look. Tell me what you think. If you want to hear more about Nest.js from my own experience, I'm just going to put for a second a slide with my details. so you can keep in touch. Not this one. So if you want to see a working example, talk with me about Nest.js, Nerwool tools, Angular at Nest.js, or something related or something unrelated. I'm going to be outside the whole day. If you like to keep in touch, that's my Twitter handle. You can drop me an email. All right, who find Nest.js something that he wants to explore? Give me some feedback. A lot of you, which is a nice thing. So I hope you had fun. You discovered something new. And that's it. Let's do great stuff together. Thanks.